Good afternoon and welcome to this week's edition of Entrepreneurship Matters. My name is Alicia Wilson. I'm Vice President for Economic Development for Johns Hopkins University and Johns Hopkins Health System. And it is my pleasure to introduce you to two women who are at the top of the PR game, and they are here with us in Maryland. So I'm going to invite Mercedes Teasley as well as Shawna Lamore onto the screen, and I'm going to give their bio, set us up for today's program, and get right into it. What we know is that successful entrepreneurs, successful businesses are not started in a day, that it takes a long-term commitment, multiple failures, tremendous grit to make it happen. And the two entrepreneurs that I get the pleasure of interviewing today are no different. They are two amazing women at the top of their game. You're going to see why I say that in just a few minutes. And these are folks who, if you are thinking about promoting something, thinking about your PR needs, you need to have these two women in your phone so you can call them. Let me give you their bios, which are quite impressive. And then I'm going to launch right into the conversation today. So first, let me introduce to and present to others Mercedes Teasley, who also goes by Mercy, of Tees Public Relations Agency, as well as Manifest with Mercy. At an early age, Mercy's father noticed her entrepreneurial spirit and encouraged her to follow her inclinations. Tees Public Relations Agency came after a failed engagement and loss of Mercy's first child due to a stress-induced preterm labor, when she decided to switch up her scenery from Cincinnati to the DC area. After jumping from contract to contract to diversify her experience and negotiate higher salaries, she launched her own branding and communications firm in 2015 and landed an executive board role with the Black Public Relations Society of DC. Huge. Today, with the growth of her network and knowledge bank, Mercy has focused solely on Black-owned startups and small businesses and helped her clients secure over $10 million, that's million with an M, in earned revenue engagement through branding, marketing, and communications. Over the years, her brand serendipitously evolved in what it is today, a holistic, passive income earning coaching practice that allows her the freedom and flexibility to retire her husband and lead 3 huge projects which focus on creating new ecosystems for people to dream, build, thrive, and achieve self-sustainability. I love this. Under the 4 powerful tenets of mindfulness, money, manifestation, and marketing mastery, she helps Black entrepreneurs claim their rightful, listen to this, peace, clarity, passion, and power to live their lives by their own design. Together, she believes will exit the matrix and manifest a new reality of prosperity, love, peace, and fulfillment. You can learn more about her at manifestwithmercy.com. I'm going to give all their .coms, their ads in a minute, but let me just welcome Mercy to Entrepreneurship Matters today.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next, I'd like to present to some, introduce to others, Shawna Lamore, who is the founder and owner of Lamore Lifestyle Public Relations. She is based in 2 places, both in Columbia, Maryland, and in Houston, Texas. But she is here. I'm so glad to see 2 Maryland women doing so well. And this is so wonderful. Born and raised in Severn, Maryland area, Shauna is living proof that your past circumstances don't dictate your future. Amen. She experienced heart failure after giving birth to her twin daughters, causing her to return to the hospital just 10 days after giving birth and resulting in her being on life support. Following those challenges and despite those circumstances, Shauna still graduated from high school that year with a 4.0 GPA, persevered, and became a healthcare professional while her daughters were young. Her drive didn't end there, thank God. Shauna later decided to focus on her media relations talent and started Lamore Lifestyle Public Relations. Her firm assists brands with increasing their visibility via media relations, press mentions, social media enhancement, collaborations, partnerships, and strategic campaigning. Their campaigns have raised thousands millions. These are $1 million women in grant sponsorships and more for their client needs. Shauna's firm has years of experience in brand partnerships, media relations, and more with the use of unique platforms, social proof, and exclusive execution. The strategic campaigns have garnered an increase in revenue for her clients and the top tier in media coverage that ranges from urban media to other highly visible platforms. Her grind illustrates that the only standards that define us are the ones that we set for ourselves. Shauna, it is a pleasure to have you two. This is a great way to end the year and to end season 3 of Entrepreneurship Matters with you two, because you all are at the top of the game. I want to start by asking this question, which is, what inspired both of you to want to be entrepreneurs? Clearly, you are talented. You are reinvent yourselves 5 different times. You are overcomers. And so what made you want to become entrepreneurs? I'll start with you, Mercy, and then Shauna.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for the wonderful intro, Alicia. We appreciate that. So at a young age, my parents owned one of the only Black-owned hair stores in the Cincinnati, Ohio area. And so they were entrepreneurs themselves. And then eventually, as I got older, we started going to like real estate investment seminars and met Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki, and his team. And so I really, in those moments, you're young, so you can't really grasp everything that's going on around you. But I knew that life had to be bigger than working for the rest of my life, paying a mortgage, the whole American dream, 2.5 kids, White House picket fence, retiring, and that was it. I've always wanted more. And so when I went through that very stressful situation and lost my first child, like you said, I needed a change of scenery, and my sister was here based just outside of DC in Delaware, near the Air Force Base. So I moved, I uprooted and, traveled into Howard University every day from Delaware and made it happen. And when I came here, I was so excited. I was just outside of the White House, the most powerful place in the world. And I knew that I could make things happen for myself here. So I just went from contract to contract and realized that I loved being 1099 more than I loved being W-2, because I could command more money and flexibility. And since then, it's just been nonstop. And I've just seen the growth, and I really wanted to help Black entrepreneurs the same way that I realized that, private white institutions and companies and corporations had the opportunity to grow their business. And I wanted to help our people in the same way, because we deserve that, and there's space for us, So that's what inspired me to get started and to keep going.
I love it. I love it. So much chopped into your story. I mean, talking about your parents, and that's why I always say exposure of young people is so important. You don't even remember what year that was or day, but the imagery of going with your 2 parents who are entrepreneurs, and really then not losing those principles that you were learning at their feet, really, like the feet of like going to Harvard Business School. You lived with Harvard Business School in your house. So no, just great points you just made. Shauna, how about you? What inspired you to want to be an entrepreneur?
So I've always been like on the path to entrepreneurship. My grandparents actually owned, I don't know what type of community you guys are from, but my grandparents owned the candy truck in our community. So that's all they did for a living. So it started with them. My parents were always they both had these side hustles like entrepreneurship, and they also both worked full time. But when I had my kids, I just knew that was it for me. I was the parent that was like, okay, well, here's my leave slip, but if you say no, I'm going to my kids' field trip anyway. And so I know that I needed that freedom, because that's just, I wanted to make sure that whatever I did kind of revolved around my life versus, me having to kind of make things work because of whatever schedule I had. So for me, it was always there. But once I had my kids, it was that was it.
Excellent. I love how both of you like go back in the family. I remember the candy truck. Penny candy?
Yep.
Oh yeah, that was the best candy. No, I love how like these inside hustles and what you just see that spirit around you and it draws you. So let me say this. So you both are at the top of the game, and I'm not exaggerating this, everybody. You just go look them up. these are two of the top PR women in the country that I get to interview today. But so take us through how you launched into your business, right? So both of you have a craft, you have a gift, but how did you go? And there are many people watching who are entrepreneurs they're on their journey. We have young people watching. Take us through, what were the steps you went through? You don't have to do step one. I take down the notes, but take us through the steps you went through to start your business. Mercy, I'll start with you. And oh yeah, we're already starting to get comments. Let me say this before we start, because this is going to be a fun conversation. So I might not get to this at another point. Everyone, I see you already commenting on Facebook. Certainly do that. Put them in the comments. I'll get those right here in Zoom. If you're in Zoom, put them in the chat or the Q&A, and I will get those questions. If you're listening, thank you all of you who listen on the phone as you continue to do your work at your jobs. You can text your questions in, type 22333, type JHUWL in the message, and I'll get all those questions in today. And I already see many of you participating. Good to see you, Cam, today. So let me start with you, Mercedes. How did you go from your passion, your work, to a business? Take us through those steps.
Great question. So it really is about time and energy management and productivity, like maximizing your productive hours. So really figuring out when you're most, viable. And if you wake up and your energy is right there at 6 a.m., then, and you don't have to be at work until 9, then you're crunching out, 6 a.m. to 7 or 8, you might try to get in a little jog or whatever, and then you get ready for work. But really, and then honestly, make time for you throughout the day. I mean, I know you have to work for someone, you might be helping to build someone else's dream, but don't forget yours at any given point in time. Like on your lunch break, I was interviewing people, I would take calls, I would take an extended lunch break, I would take my sick time and my paid time and use that. And really, what's the worst you can do is fire me? I can find other opportunities. So I always went in the gate, like I'm the prize. And if you want me on your team, then you're going to need to earn me. And when I say I need my time, I need my time, So definitely prioritizing your business, finding your energetic hours, working after hours, and having that hustle mentality until you no longer have to hustle, right? I would say energy and productivity management, time management. And hey, look, probably about 4 hours out of your 8-hour workday, people are productive. So maybe use an hour or two of even, your employer's time. Those employers are using you during your most prime hours. Take an hour to yourself, take that lunch and really use that, to your benefit. That's what I would say.
Yeah, that's what people are doing now. They're listening to you during their lunch hour. So that means
smokers get 3 to 4 10-minute breaks, honey. Look, can I get them same 30 to 45 minutes to do my business on the side? I'm not killing myself. I'm gonna go ahead and run this business over here. Let me get an extra couple breaks too.
I love it. A couple of things you said. I took down 4 points you made just now, which was 1, time and energy management, which I think is really, really great for people to do. When are you most productive during the day? And that assessment for you really allowed for you to really maximize those hours in a really productive way. 2, you need making time for yourself throughout the day. So as you were building the business, really thinking through those things, then prioritizing. So taking the calls, really making sure you're mapping out your time and your energy. I love that. And then really about mentality, really enforcing the mentality with you. How about you, Shauna? How did you go from an idea, you are embarking upon it, to building what you have today? What were the steps you went through in building your business?
I think she hit so many key points. It was a similar process. It was where every lunch break, before work, after work, everything was building my business. Until it got to the point where I was just like, I don't want to be here. And the business was not only more satisfying than work, but it also, because I was working so hard and it started to make more money than my job. So then it was just like, okay, there's not even a logical reason to stay here. Like I can do this. And so the day I actually decided, I will never forget, it was December 29th. So my anniversary is coming up.
Oh, it's coming up.
of 2015. And I went into work after the holiday break and I was just like, nope, my kids are still off for the holiday. Like, why am I here? I've built this business. I think I was holding on to the job because I was scared. But I had already built my resume. And so that was kind of the moment that I was just like, I'm going to transition into this. And I didn't want a backup plan, but I knew in my mind that, you know, I have all of this to offer. So if worst case scenario, I'll go back, but I never went back. And so, but yeah, just like she said, I really had to prioritize my time. For me, I actually had to get up at 4:00 in the morning because for me, media relations is a big part of my brand. And I realized that that's when the morning producers are kind of like sitting down to their desk. And it was the easiest time to get a response right away. And so I was like, okay, well, I'll just get up at 4 and start working then. And then, you know, a couple of hours in, then I have to get ready for work until I no longer had to kind of juggle both.
You know what? You just said something I think is really important, which you hinted to it, but it's something both of you stated, which is you really understood the industry, right? I had no idea. You just told me, like, people in media, they're up early. I mean, I guess I do realize most of my friends they are really early birds, but getting up at 4 to be able to make that connection that ultimately allows for you to have a dominance in the media market. And really that understanding. Let me ask that, go there, which is, where did you, so why PR? And we've gotten that question in the chat already. Why did both of you choose public relations? Was there something about the industry? Was there some moment in time that made you say, you know, this is where I'm going? How about, I'll start with you, Mercy, and then I'll go to Shauna.
For me, I think because, so I used to model as a child and do gymnastics. I think that just being in front of the camera was such a natural movement. And then I went to a school in Cincinnati, a high school called Hugh Center High School. And we had these categories. They had like health and nursing. They had zoology, they had science and medicine, they had communications and advertising. And I naturally felt like a communicator. So I went into communications and advertising. So throughout high school, I had internships and, you know, things that really put me in front of local channels and media outlets when I was already in high school. So it was just a natural progression for me to get into PR. Now, I will say that once I got into PR, I realized that it was a lot more, the clients are needy. They're a lot more time consuming. There's a lot more time that you're spending on your client's business than you actually are spending on your business. So you really have to be present, be available, and be reachable. And that's a little bit of that's mostly the reason why I shifted more to internal communications and strategic corporate communications and branding, as opposed to, I used to be in music entertainment and managing music clients. And so I was like, okay, that's quickly, I'm not going to do that anymore. But definitely the corporate is a lot more structured. There's less of the midnight, calls, the stress factor. And then ultimately switched into a branding and consulting strategy, because then I could really see them through the whole process and then advise certain media professionals for them to actually handle the in-camera, in-person, projects.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's really important point to talk about, like, there are different mediums within the PR industry that you could be in. How about you, Shauna? Why PR?
So it's funny. I love the point that she made. And I think it shows that we're all so different, even within the same industry. So for her, it was because she's natural in front of the camera, and that I'm the opposite. I'm the person behind the scenes. Like, this for me, I was just like, oh, this is a great opportunity. I'm just going to say yes, but this is not me. So I am the person that is behind the scenes making things happen. And I've always done that, even prior to, being in public relations. So I had all of these friends with businesses, and they would always call me for things. Oh, you can make this happen. Like, I want to do this. And then I'll say, oh, here's this opportunity, or, I made this connection. They're like, how did you do it? And I'm like, I made a call. I sent an email. I talked to somebody. I knew somebody, because I have really great relationships. And so they're like, well, you should be my publicist. I'm like, oh, why would I want to do that? No, I'm fine. And so I started just doing it to help out my friends with businesses. And I just realized I'm just really good at this. And so me, I actually ended up going back and getting education later, but I started the business first. I wasn't a communications major. I never set out to be a publicist. It just was natural. All of my friends would say like, oh, you're the plug. You can make anything happen. Like, I just pick up the phone and kind of have a gift. I don't know what I'm doing. But it always would work out. If I was set out to get something done, it would get done. And I decided to do that. I started a business for my children. They wanted to get into, and this was, oh my gosh, so many years ago, before it was like super popular for kids to be these little entrepreneurs. And they started this little like soap making business. And I was able to get them featured 18 times within the first like couple of years of business. And I just told the story. Yeah, I just told the story of like how they got started and me being a teen mom, and it just took off. And so then everybody's like, oh, well, can you do that for us? And I was like, wait, let me get a rate sheet together, because y'all gonna pay me to do this. And so that is how it was born.
Let me ask you this. It seems like you both are fearless. Clearly, it seems like you all do not see the obstacles. But so did you ever have any doubts about going into the PR industry? Did you have any like second thoughts about that? Shauna, I'll start with you and then Mercy.
No, when you read my bio, I was a teen mom. I had my daughters 10 days before my high school graduation.
Twins.
And the very next, twin daughters. And the very next day, I stopped breathing and was put on life support. So when you get a second chance at life, I think it took all fearlessness away from, like, I don't care about a no, I don't care about any of that stuff. Like that made me fearless. It was that, like, the kind of changing moment in life.
No, I think that's such an important point. And, we're thankful that you got the second moment of life. And, and so many people are living through their second, their third, their fourth, maybe not literally, but I just think so inspiring for you to talk about that, and that it allows for you not to have that fear. How about you, Mrs. Have you ever had any doubts when you were starting out as an entrepreneur, starting out in the PR industry?
I feel like, honestly, just as humans, we all have a point at which we're like, okay, can I really do this? If we haven't had that second chance at life experience, if we haven't been scared right into success, then we all have the mental limitations that we have to overcome, mental obstacles. That's why I help people with money and mindset, because we really have to shift from employee to entrepreneur is a completely different shift from getting a solid, stable, whatever you call stable, because you can be fired at any moment, a consistent paycheck, to earning your own. I feel like everyone has that fear mentality, but we just have to get over it and figure out what our true passion is. And once we realize it's in alignment with everything else, and that the universe and everything, our ancestors, everything, all the spirits, everybody is around us supporting that vision, that we can press go and we can go full forward. So for me, it was the fear of failure and not accomplishing my dreams is so much scarier to me than to go out there and just do it, because I was in sales for so long. The worst thing you can tell me is no. I knew I was going to get 9 out of 10 no's before I got that one yes, So I just keep going, and eventually the door will open. It will happen. It is about solid, scalable, and sustainable success. It's about consistency. It's not about an overnight. Everybody that you see who's successful today, they went through all of these same exact steps, unless they already had someone in their family who was wealthy and could open up those doors for them. So for me, it's much scarier to not make an impact on the world, to not help change lives, to not be anybody, to not do anything, and to live a life full of regrets, than it is to actually step out there on faith and accomplish the goals that I have for myself.
So beautifully stated. Much scarier not to use your gift.
Yep.
And to fail because you didn't I beautifully stated. I know there's somebody on here that's probably like, I needed to hear that word today. Let me say this. You said something so critical, and I think most people don't get to see it. Every successful person is consistent. Consistent. It is the denominator of everyone, not the numerator, but the denominator. Consistency, beautifully stated. So let me ask you this about how you, and this has come up a couple of different times, how did you think about funding your business? Because I don't even know how you think about capital in a PR business. How did you go about raising capital or securing capital? And how do you even think about it? Maybe how did you think about it in the beginning, and how do you think about it now? Just knowing the landscape of access to capital and the realities of how Black women have to access capital. How about you, Shauna? How did you raise capital in the beginning, now, and have you been able to think about raising capital over the life cycle?
So for me, like I said, when I went back in that day to work and decided to quit, I actually quit 2 jobs that day. I had 2 jobs when I first started my firm, and that's how I funded it. And like I said, when I was able to make enough money that I knew that it would sustain itself, that's when I quit. So I funded it through 2 jobs and 2 full-time jobs. So I didn't sleep for a couple of years, but that was what I had to bootstrap it. I didn't have any funding or anything like that. So when I decided to quit, I had been able to save up some that I knew that I wasn't just, I'm big on faith. So I'm willing to like jump out on faith, but because I was at the time a single mom, I knew I had to also be kind of strategic. So I had to save up a little. And when I decided like I can go for it, I had funded it myself.
No, I love that. And faith doesn't mean blind. I don't know where blind faith came from. Blind faith is really seeing the whole, seeing it all. No, I love how you talked about that. And do you think about, have you been able to raise capital in different ways? I guess people are asking, so how do you, as an entrepreneur, are there sources, are there banking, are there opportunities out there for you all?
I actually haven't done any type of funding like that. I will say some of the payment processors will offer like working capital and things like that. But like you said, I don't know what the percentage is now, but there isn't a ton of funding out there. I do sometimes come across like grants and things like that, and I will enter my clients. I've got my clients tons of funding, but sometimes when it comes to service providers, it's a little harder. So my business it funds itself at this point. I think being able to, like she said, be consistent and build that resume, you get people that are willing to put you on retainer, and that keeps the business going.
I see. Okay. How about you, Mercy? How have you been able to build capital? Did you do something different in the beginning versus now?
Yep. I'm so glad you asked this question, because this is huge for us as Brown people looking for capital and fundraising. So I was very much so like Shauna when I first started. I'm just going to say this. If you have skills, and I have a course on this, it is a free course, register your LLC, because employees pay the most taxes and they have the least tax benefits. Okay. Once you register a business, pretty much most of your home office space, your cell phone, your insurance, your car, a lot of those things are write-offs. And that way you can have some type of tax benefit at the end of the year, as opposed to constantly owing taxes. Once you have a business structure, like Shauna said, people like PayPal can offer you a working line of capital or credit, those types of payment processors. So you can eventually get there. But I'll be honest, I didn't get that first letter from PayPal until 3 to 4 years into my business. However, so that's not immediate money. Now, we live in a brand new day and age, right? So right now, I'm a serial entrepreneur. I also own a cannabis tech company, co-founded with my husband. And so we fundraise not only through venture capitalists, which is a professional way of fundraising. So people who have some level of affluence, they have money, et cetera, and they believe in your dream and vision. You enter these pitch competitions and they believe in your dream and vision. Angel investors and venture capitalists will invest in your business for a portion of equity. So a portion of the shares that you make available to the public. They want to retain some of that so they can get their money back, but they'll front you the funds if they believe in, if you make them believe in it enough. If you can sell your story enough, they will believe in it, right? So there are so many different things. I mean, there's Black Girl Ventures, there's Cocoa Coalition, there's Create and Cultivate, there is the NAACP, Hello Alice, so many different grant and pitch and scholarship funding opportunities today, COVID has completely changed the game for us. So all of these people offer all of these pitch competitions and business grants. There's one that closes right now, December 16th or 17th. I think tomorrow. It's offered by Hello Alice, helloalice.com. There's a $5,000.
Don't worry, we're going to put it in the chat for people.
There's a $5,000 small business grant through helloalice.com that actually closes tomorrow. And it's a very simple application. So you go in there and you put your business in there. But again, you need to have at least an LLC or so proprietorship structure to do that. And I don't recommend a sole proprietorship because then your personal assets are still accessible. But I recommend an LLC at minimal to start your business and apply to some of these grant opportunities and funding structures that are available. Right now, there's so much money available. I mean, people are going into cryptocurrency and NFTs. There's a young Black woman who's 24 years old. She just raised over $300,000 through NFTs, which is a cryptocurrency based fundraising measure for artists. I mean, in 8 months, right? 300 grand in 8 months, just because she's an artist and she started tapping into decentralized currency, which is the currency of the future. So we really have to use the internet for something other than TikTok videos and Instagram, right? Get out here and really do your research and figure out what's available to you, what you have the capacity for. If you don't want to get on stage and pitch, then, partner with an artist, create an NFT and sell it on a blockchain, service provider. So just be diverse. And use and be deliberate, be intentional, and get out there, find the opportunities and take your opportunity. No one is going to give it to you.
I love all that y'all both just dropped so many gems. We put Hello Alice in the chat and on Facebook. So for those of you that are able to avail yourself, I love what you both said. And I think that y'all are selling your business today. I don't know if you know you are. So let me ask you this. We have a number of entrepreneurs on, and I think they can see from just both of your presentation, why would I need a PR agency? Why can't I just why wouldn't I go this alone? And we've had many entrepreneurs on. We've had over 130 come on Entrepreneurship Matters thus far. And they talk about how they have outside consultants, PR agencies, attorneys, accountants. Someone sitting on here and they are an entrepreneur and they don't have a PR agency. What should they give us your pitch? Why do they need a PR agency, even if they don't think they do? Shauna, can you talk about that? And then Mercy.
Sure, absolutely. So I think PR is just your relationship with the public. It's just that simple. So it's important for every business to have the difference between going at it alone, because a lot of people are able to reach the public in certain ways. What you're doing when you hire a public relations firm or a publicist is you are trading your investment for their relationships and their time and their strategy. And so we built these relationships. There are like media outlets that her and I'm sure her as well, can just text and say, hey, I have this great story, because we know what they're looking for. And so we have the insights, the editorial calendars and those type of things. And so what you do is you get that off of your plate, because everybody needs this visibility. But if you don't want to do it on your own, you can trade in your investment by hiring someone to get access to, like I said, their relationships, their contacts, and their ability to really get your story out there in a way that makes you relatable to the public. That's all you need to get to the next level. And so a lot of people kind of struggle with, why is this business? I think my business is better than this business that I saw on TV. Well, they were able to create their story in a way that people want to see and are interested in. A lot of times people are buying into the person and not even the product. Right. You can have the same exact product or even a better product than somebody who's doing, much better than you, but it's because they're relatable and they're able to be visible. And that's what public relations gives you.
Love it. Said it so clearly and beautifully. You're so right. The relationships, Gail can pick up your phone call. Not mine, but yours, because you have the relationship.
Don't have Gail yet.
What's that?
said I don't have
It's coming. It's coming from this. I'm going to tell you in a minute. We're going to confirm somebody watching. It's coming from this. Mercedes, how about you? Why would entrepreneurs come to you to receive your services?
Yeah. Shauna hit some amazing points right on the head. Visibility is one of the greatest factors to attaining a consistent clientele base or a consistent audience, right? And so when you're talking about visibility, like she said, it needs to be palatable. People need to understand what you are, and understand that you know who you are, what you offer, and why they should come to you. You are truly selling your brand to people. People buy from other people, not from these big, large corporations. So if you're talking about, for example, in the past year, Papa John's CEO said some very racist things in the media, in a private recorded conversation that was then leaked to the media. They then fired him, the founder of this brand, the face of this brand, and then raised Shaquille O'Neal into his place and really took that brand to a new level because they understand the power of the connection to people. And the most valuable way that you can showcase your support or opposition for a brand is through your dollars. Right? So you either pay with your time or your money. That is one concept that I learned in this life that will never, ever, ever fail you. You're either going to pay with your time or your money. So you can get out there and do all of the legwork, like Shauna said, try to procure all of these relationships. These people are busy. They get hundreds of news stories a day. They don't want to filter through. You might not even know how to start writing. This isn't a thesis paper. It's not an explanatory. You just want a press release that hits these points home and gets you that publicity that you're looking for. And so PR agents and brand managers have already procured those relationships, and they already have the experience to bill you just once, curate that story that's going to get you that media attention, and then send it out to their connections. And really building a strong, cohesive, and palatable brand that people can relate to. That is the most important thing when it comes to business.
Love how, both of you, you both said so much in what you just said. And I love how you said, you will either pay with your time or your money. Either one. And one of them you can't get back. Make more money. Can't manufacture time. So love how you both put that. And that leads to a question. Let me get to this question that I see you all putting it in Facebook. So I'm gonna get to this. And you're getting so many kudos. So I hope after this you get to go see how much people are lifting you up and loving on you. But someone commented, you both have incredible stories. Their question is, knowing all that you know now, what advice would you give your younger self about starting your business? What would you wish someone could have whispered in your ear, giving you some pointers on? I'll start with you, Shauna, and then Mercy.
I always like this question because I never know how to answer it. It's my favorite question because it's
the one that you can toss it up. It could be something totally different today than what you've done before.
It gives me because in some ways I think I probably wouldn't tell her anything because she didn't listen. She was young. However, I think I would have went for it sooner. Like I said, there was a time where I was literally working 2 jobs and, building this business. And I think I should have stopped. I think I should have went for it sooner. That's probably it. The worst you can do is get a no, and I don't really believe in failing. I call it pivoting, but I think I would have went full-time entrepreneurship much earlier because during that time, it was like maybe 2.5 years. I really, I worked a lot.
Yeah.
And I can't get those years back. It goes back to what Mercy said. It's either time or money. So, sorry, I think my screen went out. But yeah, so I missed out on time that I wish I could get back.
Start early. We had a 16-year-old entrepreneur on here, and they started their business when they were 12. And they were like, I would have started sooner. And I was like, okay, maybe like 8. I don't know.
And I've I've represented kid entrepreneurs and they are my absolute favorite because I'm just like, I wish I was this when I was a kid. Like, how are you? I mean, they do interviews, they do, and I'm just like,
They
I wish I had
do.
that. I wish I had that when I was younger. I love it. One of my most successful clients was a little entrepreneur right out of DC. And she ended up on Black Girls Rock. She's in like a ton of Salad Beauty stores. And I mean, she just,
Oh, come on, give us the name. Give us the name.
her name is Lexi of Curl.
Lexi's Curl, Curlinista. That's your client.
Yes, I got her that deal with.
I love Lexi. If Lexi's watching, I love Lexi.
We entered her into that competition for Sally Beauty and got her a bunch of media because we knew she was going to beat the post. I mean, she was tiny and just we knew she was going to beat the competition.
I know, Shauna. We go way back then. We probably family. We're going to talk after the show. We probably family. If you talk giving names like Lexi and Curlinista, man, wow, that's huge, huge. She is just taking off. Amazing, amazing. And I don't know what age she started. What age did she start at 11?
12.
12. Okay. Yeah. Wow. I love it. Start earlier. That's the best advice. How about you, Mercy? What's the advice you would give to your younger son?
Yeah. Very, very much so in alignment with Shauna. I spent a lot of time finding out what I didn't want to do. Mm-hmm. I spent a lot of time getting certifications and licenses. Like I was in finance for five of the years that I've been in communications and marketing. I got my Series 7 and 66. I was a licensed insurance broker. I've been a licensed realtor and an licensed investment banker. So I spent a lot of time, money, and energy pivoting into areas that I thought was, I wanted to be powerful. I wanted to make all of this money, and it was still just corporate America. And then even when I got there, I was just like, this is not what I want to do, and now that I'm in this holistic place, but again, I probably wouldn't change anything either, because it's through the struggles that you find your true self and your true spirit, right? Like I had to go through all of those things, and now I can coach on finance. Now I can coach on investments, right? Now I can coach on mindfulness. I can coach to my struggles. I can talk about not wasting time. And that's part of my story. But without those struggles, I wouldn't be here. I'd probably still be, I wouldn't have the knowledge and wisdom and experience that I have today. And so if I could do anything different, it's to realize my purpose sooner. But the trials and tribulations and the struggles that I went through and all of the experience, I honestly couldn't take it back, because it was those moments when I was fired from a job, from a 6-figure contract for, telling my white bosses that they're trying to reach an urban market, and having a white woman in the ad isn't going to get Black women who hold 63% of that household's income and manage that. That's not going to help women like me buy what they're trying to offer to a community that primarily looks like me. And so I was fired from a Fortune 100 company for that. From a contract for that particular, but those are things that are true to me. I knew that narrative, and I had to be real. I'm not a tap dancer, so just all of those trials and tribulations, and just having to come home and tell my husband, like, you know what, that great contract I had, I ain't got it no more. Yeah. So we're gonna have to pivot some finances for a little bit, and just going through all of that, it made me who I am.
Yeah,
and so I wouldn't change anything.
No, I know, and both of your journeys just demonstrate like the buildup, right? None of the journey is lost. I always say that. None of your journey, if you live it and live it well and not rush through it, will be lost. I agree with you wholeheartedly. Let me ask you both this question, which you're getting so many high fives and kudos. Both of you are in an industry where you're not the only two, right? There are many people who are in public relations, many people who also have coaching businesses. What stops you from playing the comparison game? Because sometimes you're on the path, right? But then it's like, hold on, let me look at them. Let me see what they're doing. What stops you from doing that? Shauna, I'd love to start with you and then Mercy.
This industry, there is almost every business is in need of some type of PR. So there is no shortage of clients. And so I think maybe when you first start, you're just like, oh my gosh, how am I going to stand out amongst everyone in my industry? The same thing we do for clients, we have to do for our brands too. But the answer is just consistency. It's just getting the job done. And that in and of itself makes you stand out. And so you actually learn in this industry because it's highly relationship it moves off of relationships, that having relationships with other publicists actually makes your job easier. And so like, for example, I was representing a magazine and the magazine needs, people to feature. And so I'm reaching out to my other publicists, hey, send me your clients. And so building those relationships, it makes it that much easier. Like I'm in a group chat with like 6 other publicists. And there's no competition. And sometimes even now, because I've been able to build the business to the point where I don't need every single client that contacts me, I'll say, I think I have a publicist that's actually a better fit for your brand. And I'll just give the client away. So I don't think there's any competition here because we all kind of do something different. We're all strong in some, parts. And the public relation is just so big that there's no way that we would have to compete for clients.
I love your outlook, and you're so right. There's so much work. There's so much to be done. You couldn't even do it all, even if you wanted to.
No.
So yeah, and I love how you trade back and forth. You're so right. I'm a lawyer. So yeah, you trade back and forth. I trade cases all the time. I can't do all legal work. You're right. So right. Mercy, how about you? What stops you from doing the comparison game?
So it's a couple of things that I actually coach on too. First, knowing your niche market, right? Knowing the market that you serve specifically. And if you need to create ideal customer profiles or customer journeys to really find out what it is that you want to do and what you want to focus on and specialize in, like Shauna said, I pass clients all the time. I have, PRs who work in media, who work in technology, nonprofit, small business. I mean, it runs the gamut. So all of those most of them are women, all of those individual women have their own silos, right? So if I know somebody who's looking for PR, I'll say, okay, what's your business or what's your opportunity that you're looking to acquire or obtain? I'll send them right to those women, and then facilitate that exchange of that relationship. But knowing your niche, and then getting rid of that imposter syndrome, like, oh, that person does this, so I can't do it too. You absolutely can. But you need to understand, I call it your MVP, your most valuable purpose or your most viable purpose, right? It's understanding your true, unique power and your passion that leads you to create a new outcome for your client or whatever it is that is inside of you that makes you different. There are hundreds of thousands of brand coaches out here and branding experts out here, right? I am specific and very tailored in my approach. I am for small businesses and startups by Black founders and entrepreneurs who are looking to pivot from employee to entrepreneurship, right? Because I understand the mentality shift that needs to take place. I understand that we need to exit the matrix. This is a matrix. It's all a facade. It's all built up to live the American dream. It's just a story that you've been told. We just need to rewrite the narrative and create your own narrative that fits you so that we can find your true liberating power and passion deep down within you. So it's about finding your MVP inside of you and then not letting anyone else, feel like they have rights to that. That is you. You earn that. And then everybody else outside of that, share the wealth. It's money to be shared for everyone. Everyone in my network makes money. We exchange business. That's it.
So good. So such great gems for everyone. I was looking down because I wanted to confirm, and we do have her. We do have Oprah again today. So Oprah's on watching.
Wow.
So, and the question that I always pose when she comes on is, how can individuals at Oprah's level of influence, her platform, how can they support businesses like yours, ensure that they proliferate, multiply, And how can individuals who are at a different level of influence, consumer level, and, my own social, an individual level that are in our communities, how can they help? And how can industry help? So what should we all be doing to ensure that there are more businesses like yours existing, thriving, multiplying, influencing? I'll start with you, Shauna, and then Mercy. It's a good opportunity. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I think, and it's being done, I think Mercy spoke on it earlier, especially during the pandemic and shortly before. A lot of the larger companies are kind of giving back to the smaller up and coming businesses, the pitch competitions. I know like the owner of Essence did a pitch competition and my client won $25,000. Those are the type of things that you can do. Like that completely changed her, but that's not a lot of money for, some businesses, but for her business, it took her to the next level. So I think supporting that way, or just giving the opportunities, there's a lot of opportunities. And I think just sharing it with businesses, maybe answering an email from somebody who you may not know, but you never know, they may have a great story to tell. Yeah. I think just being kind of understanding that there are different like levels, but at the same time, we're all kind of on the same level when it comes to certain stuff. So I think just being kind of open and available.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. How about you, Mercy? Mercy, what would you say?
Absolutely. Along that same space, just creating space, right? Creating networks of reciprocal opportunities and exchanges that can be shared back and forth. A couple of people who do this really well, like I said before, helloalice.com. There's all kinds of grants, there's networks, there's communities that you can join to answer each other's questions. Alignable.com is a small business networking platform where you can share business and contracts and opportunities. Creating space. Oprah has a huge platform. And if we look at the majority of her demographics, probably 40 to 50% of those are white women, but then probably 40 to 50% of those are Black women also. And so for all of those women, creating a monthly free masterclass or webinar where professionals can get on just like this, just like Johns Hopkins is doing right now at this moment, Alicia, you facilitating this, is giving us space to share our knowledge. And if nothing else, clients, again, I moved towards a passive business because I didn't want to handhold clients anymore. Yeah. Sharing space so that I can give this knowledge, because my purpose is to help other people who look like me succeed, right? Because I didn't know you don't know what you don't know. You didn't know you needed an LLC and that you needed a DUNS number and that you needed a cage number to apply for government contracts and what website to go to apply for government contracts. And you didn't know all of these steps. I was 6 years into my business before I found out what a DUNS profile is. And that's a business credit profile, right? No one tells you this stuff until you realize, like, wait, how do I build business credit and get a business credit card? And then you start down a whole rabbit hole. But, really just creating space to share information, share opportunities of wealth. I've created a reciprocal exchange network within T's Public Relations called BAPS, Black Affluence Partners. And basically what we do.
I love it. Fire. Right, everyone is saying fire.
It's also a play on BAPS, right? It's something that's part of our culture and our community. But within BAPS, and my cooperative is part of this community. Our cannabis startup is part of this community. We do a reciprocal marketing. So we share each other's marketing opportunities, and then we come in and we share contract opportunities and opportunities to do business together. And when I say these are monetary exchanges, we are purposeful and intentional with the fact that these need to be a waste of time for absolutely no one involved. Everybody needs to receive some type of benefit. So we're going back to a quid pro quo, like a barter exchange network. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. You give me this opportunity for visibility, I'll put you on this contract. And that is what we need, because we're so divided and disconnected as a community. Once we get back to that, we can start to flow these dollars back into our communities, into our businesses. So creating space and exchanging opportunities. That is literally the the base foundation of creating generational wealth and inter-community wealth for our businesses.
So many gems. Shauna, did you want to get back on it? You just preached the whole word in that whole.
I was
just
about
a moment.
to say, amen. That's it. That's the key. That's the key. I think the opportunities, and that reminds me, Mercy, there's a group that I want to see if you want to be a part of after this call. We'll talk. But that's it. Creating space and giving opportunities. That group message that I referred to earlier. One of the publicists said, "Hey, you got any media clients that want to be on the red carpet of the Grammys? We need those opportunities." I'm not in the music space, so I did not have that contact. But now my media client will be there. And so it's something as simple as a text. And then when I have opportunities, I send it, and they're allowed to do that for them. And it makes sure that everybody stays consistent and is able to offer these opportunities to their clients that, maybe I had the opportunity first, but it doesn't, benefit me to hold on to it when I know that it can be, a resource to someone else.
Yep.
I love the way both of you live in a world of abundance, because when people live in a world of abundance, they just move differently. Relationships look totally different to folks who live in that, because they can give it away and get it back tenfold. They can give it tenfold and get it back 100-fold. And they see all of this. I love what you both said. I knew I was going to run out of time. So I knew this was going to happen. Let me get a couple things in before we go. And then I want to ask one last question. People have asked this, so we're going to give it to them right now. How can they get in contact with you? How can they follow you? How can they reach out to you for your services? Shauna, give it all to us right now.
Okay, so I'm on Instagram at Lamore Lifestyle PR. My website, lamorelifestylepr.com. And same thing on Facebook. Facebook is Lamore Lifestyle Public Relations, all spelled out. But everything else is Lamore Lifestyle PR.
Excellent. Mercy, give us all the ways we can get in contact with you for both of your businesses, your coaching and your PR.
Absolutely. So it's nice and easy. IG and FB is Manifest with Mercy. And then the best way to get in touch with me for the Tease Public Relations is Tease, TEASE-PR, as in publicrelations.com. And all of my social media will be on there. And the BAPS list, so you can get registered to join our reciprocal community of opportunities there.
I love it, BAPS list. We're going to do that. Now, let me ask you this, my final question. You both have achieved so much, and your best days are still ahead of you. Yep. So what has been your greatest achievement, and what's next? So Shauna, why don't you go?
I don't know. There's been so many. Do you mean like a personal achievement or very like industry related?
No, I think so I know your children personal, the twins, they are. No, this is business.
Okay. So I would probably say getting Lexi again, I'll go back to her, getting her that opportunity and just seeing it kind of snowball from that competition that she won. She was able to get into Sally beauty stores, and then they offered her 11 stores, and so we kept going with the campaign, and then now it's 88 stores. And from that, she was able to go to Black Girls Rock and interview, DJ Beverly Bond. She was in Essence. Most recently, my firm for my business, because I'm so used to getting everybody else visibility, but for my firm, there's Forbes The Culture now, and it really is specific to Black and Brown entrepreneurs, elite entrepreneurs, and I was listed as one of the PR firms that is respected by the platform. So I was like, Forbes, like I was a teen mom, and I was mentioned in Forbes. And so for me, that was a big moment, especially because I usually stay behind the scenes, and I'm always happy for these client wins, but to kind of see my name as a part of that, definitely. And just being here today, like, I think even doing anything affiliated with Hopkins and all that you guys do, it's an honor. I was born at Johns Hopkins, so.
It's an honor. It's an honor for me. I mean, like, this is boosted me so much. And I was so excited to get the art. I mean, you two are rock stars. I don't know if you know it, but just an honor to get to even have you say yes and get you on this platform. It's been a blessing. So it's going to continue for you. How about you, Mercy? What's your greatest achievement thus far?
So In my past work and coaching work, I would say creating financial freedom for my clients and just seeing that success in their business. But what I look forward to most in this future is using cannabis and crypto to help build generational wealth for Black and Brown people across the diaspora. And then in the future, I see myself traveling through Africa, Bali, Asia, and doing speaking engagements and activating our community from around the world and creating mindful, holistic wealth and sustainable wealth throughout the world, because we deserve that. And we haven't received that before, and we haven't, had our power truly exposed to us like we should have. And now is our time. So I'm excited to see what we do collectively as Black and Brown people throughout the world, with my help and with the help of everybody that I hope to attract.
Excellent, excellent. Shauna, Mercy, it has been an absolute pleasure. You both are wonderful. We'll be praying for you, lifting you up, advertising for you, connecting you like you connect so many others. Just so honored to have you on today, and glad to have you end out the season. This really was a great way to end out this season. This is our third season. We will be back in the new year. January 13th is when we start our fourth season. People are saying powerful queens. Thank you. So many people are lifting you both up. You're so wonderful. We'll be back Thursday, January 13th, same time, same place. Want to follow us on JH Connects on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Email feedback, jhconnects@jhu.edu. Want to thank all of our partners, Johns Hopkins University, Johns Hopkins Health System, the Mayor's Office of Small Minority-Owned Businesses, the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Business, as well as Bloomberg Philanthropy. Thank you, Mercy. Thank you, Shauna. Thank you, everyone, for watching, and hope you have a wonderful rest of your year.
Thank you. Thank you for your time and your energy.
Thank you.
You're welcome.